Are you afraid of the competition? When people come to you for help, do you feel like they're using you to grow their own careers or businesses? If you're feeling this way, listen up, my friend, because this episode might just be the game changer you need. Hey there! I'm Maida Leon, and my mission is to help creatives like you translate what you love to do into a highly profitable income. I'm a mom of three who began as a lettering artist and grew it into a six-figure business. If I made it possible, so can you. Every week, we'll dive deep into topics like building your confidence, getting comfortable talking about money, and nurturing your passion while juggling life and family. So if you're an ambitious creative who wants to craft the life you love, get cozy, feel at home, and listen to the Confident Creator Show. Hey creators, and welcome to episode 6. Today's topic came from an interesting source, my husband, Chris. It was during the first few weeks of the COVID lockdown in Manila, and of course, like everyone else, we were on social media. Most of the time, guilty here. Checking news. We were checking news and making sure that our family was fine. It was also that point in time where I was looking for delivery services for things like food, groceries, and whatnot because I was genuinely scared to go out. In case you don't know, I have an immunocompromised child, so we're always extra careful, especially when it comes to making sure that we're not exposing him to unnecessary risks. This kind of led me to develop a slight psychosomatic tendency when it comes to the well-being of my family. So whenever we do our grocery runs during that time, we'd actually be in the queue for even up to 8 hours. And I'd feel terribly guilty for days afterwards, thinking that us going out has exposed our family. So please tell me that I wasn't the only one who felt this way in the early days of the pandemic. To mitigate the risk and guilt, I relied heavily on social media and online shopping for everything we need. So one day, I was busy browsing on Facebook looking for things to order from small local shops in our area. And my husband, Chris, was also busy looking at DIY woodworking in several Facebook groups. One comment really stood out to him. It was from someone who was asking for help. He was looking for references and resources so he can find the best wood to start his own creations. What he found odd was that nobody ever responded to that post. For a group with over 20,000 members, no one offered to help at all. Chris turned to me and said, "I wish I could have done something, but I don't know anything about what he was asking either." I find that incident really interesting because there were a lot of missed opportunities for so many businesses and services in that particular post. But that also got me thinking about why businesses and services were not responding. And it's something we can learn from as creators and business owners. So let's first take a look at why no one responded to that post. There are mainly two underlying reasons. The first is that most people focus on competition instead of being of service. And what I mean by this is businesses and brands feeling threatened or being overprotective over their knowledge. They're afraid of sharing their know-hows, resources, and the tools they use because they don't want to reveal it for everyone to know. Or they're afraid that this person might end up being a competitor instead. They act like Scrooge McDuck in The Christmas Carol, paranoid and mistrustful. The second reason is that they are self-centered, too focused on themselves. All they do is talk about their products and services, how good they are, and why they're the best. It's very egocentric, and frankly, this selling method no longer works. Unfortunately, there are many people who still do this, and we often see them blaming everyone and everything else for their problems. Now let's go back to that post. If you're a member of that group and you know something that might help, will you jump right in and give him information you think will be useful? Or will you keep that information to yourself? What were your first thoughts and feelings when you first saw that post? Or something similar you've come across? Is your initial reaction one where you feel threatened that if you share that info, he could also get access to some potentially great suppliers that only very few people knew about? And that someday he could end up offering services similar to yours, and you feel like you could end up losing customers simply because you offered to help someone. Don't worry, I won't judge you if those thoughts and reactions were the first thing that popped up. It would be hypocritical of me to do that because I can't help but do it too. It's basically human nature to think that way. It's our primal instinct to protect ourselves that's kicking in. However, I also want you to understand what this mindset says about how you deal with your business and life in general. When you're thinking so much about what your competitors are doing and how they seemingly are out to copy what you're doing and steal your customers, or you only focus on promoting your work from a look-at-me perspective because you think it's the best way to make money, then you're essentially just thinking about you. You're not thinking about your customers at all. You're not thinking about how you could best serve them as a business owner. And when I say customers, I'm talking about both your existing and potential customers. You see, when we start thinking about competition, we lose sight of the bigger picture. We start focusing on the negative things that actually might not even happen at all. We start to worry and obsess over what the competition is doing, that it also starts affecting our productivity. In fact, obsessing over them could lead to a lot of decisions and actions that are going to harm our businesses. From accepting jobs that are not within our niche to making major financial decisions that our business is not ready yet to invest in. And then there's the self-centered thinking. When we only think about ourselves, how can we promote our product? How can we increase the sales or get more clients? We end up completely cutting off the customer in that conversation. We eventually stop caring about them. What do they really need and how can we serve them better? And when we stop caring about our customers, we stop creating better products and content. The products will be all about what we think the customers want. And the content we'll create are about what we think the customers want to consume. Soon, we begin to ask ourselves, why is no one buying our products or engaging our services? Why is our content not doing well at all? Ultimately, we all want more people to know about our products and services, right? But we have to do it with the customer in mind. We have to get them to a place where they trust us and what we have to offer. And for that to happen, we need to build our credibility and authority in our niche. So yes, that's the reason why we post content on social media. That's why we write blog posts. That's why we send regular emails to our subscribers. These are all credibility building actions. Every content that we put out there is our voice, thoughts, and opinion that makes a part of our authority and credibility in our area of expertise. But there's also another way to build your credibility and authority online. A way that is most often overlooked but adds an even stronger value to you as a business owner and as a creator. And that way is by helping other people. Once again, let's go back to that Facebook post that we're talking about earlier. Let's say, for example, that I'm also a member of that group. I'm a supplier of power tools. And I also happen to see that post. I could either ignore the post or help this person out by pointing him to the resource he'll need. Or I could have done a basic search for something and link him up to those references. Frankly, it really wouldn't have taken anyone a lot of time to do this. Now, you might think, why would I do that? He was specifically asking for wood suppliers or sources. I'm a tools supplier. How is that helping my credibility and authority in my niche? Let's carefully analyze the situation here. Yes, I'm a tools supplier. And yes, he's looking for wood sources. But, here's the thing. What else would he need to make those creations? Because it's DIY, he might also need some power tools, right? So yes, by being of service and getting him some links or resources, I was able to open up the opportunity for him to get to know me on a more personal level. And when he does, he'd potentially look my profile up and land on my page or website, or perhaps my shop. Or even better, the conversation continues and it could end up with him asking, how would I work this particular piece of wood? And that would be the perfect segue for me to talk more about the tools I would use and tell him if he doesn't have that particular tool, I can always hook him up with one. See what just happened there? I just might have converted him to a potential client. You created a positive experience for him and he'll remember you for it. He might not need your tools right now, but if he does and he needs to upgrade or get a new one, he'll remember it. You might think it's so far-fetched, but think about your own experience. Do you frequent a particular shop not because they were the cheapest or had the best quality products, but because the people or the owner of that shop is the most friendliest and helpful? You know, there's a fine art supply shop in Singapore that's very popular with my friends and local artists over there. Their prices might not be the most competitive, and you might go in to just buy a new pen nib or a tube of watercolor paint, and you could end up spending hours in there. And it's a tiny shop, by the way. They can't compete with the larger art supply stores, but they have been a mainstay of the art community in Singapore. And it's all for a very simple reason. People don't just shop there. They go in and have discussions. They ask for help and the people there are super helpful. Like I said, you might just buy a pen nib, but you come up with more knowledge on the type of pen inks you already have at home that would work better with the nib you just bought. So despite it being a family-owned business, their credibility and authority is solid gold. Going back to that post, if a brick and mortar shop can earn that credibility through word of mouth, can you imagine what showcasing your knowledge and expertise is going to be like online? It's a conversation that's not private at all. 20,000 people could potentially watch it unfold. It's not just between you and the poster. It's accessible to whoever else comes across that post. And remember this, if he asks that question, chances are there are others who are also asking the same question, looking for sources for their own projects. And me responding have opened up the opportunity for all those people to get to know me and my business as well. You see, these things are granular. There's a slim chance that they'd actually buy from you, but the fact that you've provided help builds trust like no other. Going back to the art supply shop, they might talk about inks, and you probably have a 3 lifetimes worth of inks at home in every shade of the rainbow. But they don't force you to buy the inks they have. They make recommendations because they genuinely want you to get the best results. So yes, landing in my shop is a big maybe, but if you're consistently helping people, more and more will become familiar with your brand. You're establishing your credibility as a vendor by indirectly telling people that, hey, I'm here to help. And more importantly, I want you to offer this help not only because it's going to help build your authority and credibility, but also because you genuinely care. Authority and credibility is something that you cannot gain overnight. You have to earn it from the people you want to serve. I feel like with every show we produce, I'm learning alongside with you as well. We looked at the root of why we're afraid of helping others as business owners. We fear competition, and sometimes we're too focused on what our business could do for us instead of what we can do for our customers. But I also hope that you take away an important lesson here, that you don't have to be afraid of competition when you have built your authority and credibility. Authority and credibility that is built by your own action and a strong foundation that is not created by ads or well-worded marketing. We've come to the end of another episode of the Confident Creator Show. As always, you'll find the show notes on my website at maidaleon.com/ccs6, where I'll list down all the resources you'll need to help you start and grow your own creative business, like my 5 secrets to get high-paying clients or the guide on how to set your own rates. Just head over to maidaleon.com/ccs6 to get access to all of them. All right? Thank you so much for listening, and if you liked today's episode, it would really mean a lot if you can rate the podcast and leave it a review. That will help us reach so many other creatives who are in need of inspiration. You may also share the podcast on Instagram, and please, if you do, tag me at MaidaLeon so I can share it on my stories too. And as always, keep creating and stay confident. Until next time, this is Mai.